Johnny, you want to take the lead on this and talk about who your dart throw would be?
Right here.
Speaking of league winner, usually what we like to say is at the end of your drafts, you're looking for dart throws. You're looking for lottery tickets, right? Somebody that for very cheap could help you win your league. So we're cruising around on Reddit Monday, Johnny and I, and we're trying to decide some of these topics. And we came across a really nice one here posted by Rev N7 2 days ago. And it says low cost / no cost redraft dart throws for every NFL team. So he's planning on making this list. We might even bring it up again on next show. This is for the AFC East, NFC West that he did. And there were a lot of cool names here. And it got me and Johnny thinking, like, who would be our late round dart throws? Johnny, you want to take the lead on this and talk about who your dart throw would be? Did you have one of the guys that he listed here?
So I decided to go with Breshad Perriman. And I know what a lot of people are thinking. Breshad Perriman, this guy has played for literally every single team, it feels like, and he's been in the league since 2005, it seems like, and he's never truly broken out. But I would beg Whisper Nation to check once more, because Breshad Perriman, for a guy who has had all these injury riddled seasons and all these things like that, he's still only 26 and a half years old. He'll probably be 27 around the season. But when you look at his size and his speed, he's 6'2". He ran a super fast 40 time, a 4.30. 4.30 40 time, and then you look at his speed score, 125.7, which was the 99th percentile. Travis, let me just ask you this. Who did the New York Jets get rid of this offseason?
Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson is the correct answer.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, to some people. We speak highly of him, so he allows us to say Robbie Anderson on this show. And Robbie Anderson, if you look at what his metrics are, Breshad Perriman is a better Robbie Anderson. And if you take what Robbie Anderson did last year, Travis, 96 targets, 778 yards, and 5 touchdowns, that's pretty nice. And for a guy that you can get in the 14th round, let's remember Robbie Anderson was a wide receiver everyone was super high on last year. And he was going in the 7th or 8th round of fantasy drafts. Chelsea has him on her dynasty team. She likes him, but ask her. She could use Robbie Anderson last year, and people are going to be able to use Breshad Perriman this year. Look at what he did at the end of last season, Travis. You don't believe me? I understand it. I get it. You're not a believer, but this guy, I'm telling you, breakout.
Yeah, I mean, look, last year he had great numbers down the stretch. He was also playing in an offense that was vacated by Chris Godwin and Mike Evans due to injury. He was also playing.
They're gone. He's in the Jets land now.
Hold on a second. He was also playing with a quarterback who broke records as a passer, like throwing the ball.
And Sam Darnold can't do that?
I mean, I'm not just going to say Sam Darnold's going to be Jameis Winston right now. Like, as far as
look at these,
like leading the league in attempts, Johnny. Like, that's, you're going to say like he needed that in order to put up those numbers.
But listen,
I'm just saying. Like,
okay, Sam Darnold.
I love where Perriman's being drafted. I think it's fantastic. This is perfect. He is a dart throw. I mean, you look at guys being drafted around him or ahead of him. Miles Boykin, Michael Pittman Jr., Kenny Stills. Yeah, like, give me Perriman above all of those guys.
I'm not saying that Perriman is going to be this dominant. I mean, he can put up down the stretch. He put up a number 2 wide receiver finish. He put up a 28, 23, 15, and a 3. So is he going to get you, 100% of the weeks is going to be a wide receiver? No, I'm not telling you that. But I'm saying you're going to get, look, Robbie Anderson was wide receiver 39 last year. And so you're telling me I'm going to get at least wide receiver 39 in the 14th round of drafts? Sign me up.
Yeah, the other thing to say here is Adam Gase is now in his second year as the Jets head coach, which means that, Darnold was battling mono and whatever else is going
And
on.
ghosts and
over there.
all that stuff.
Yeah, seeing ghosts last year, but he's going to have a full year to kind of get going here. Obviously, we got the pandemic, so it'll be a little bit loaded there. But I think Perriman's one of these perfect guys to talk about as this low-cost, virtually no-cost dart throw at the back end of drafts. I'm really excited about another guy that was listed here on this list, and that's Josh Reynolds. And we've talked a little bit about, the Rams wide receivers on this exact show. And I think when we look at Josh Reynolds, one of the best things was reading this post on Reddit, and the guy quotes Sean McVay here saying, "We would not have made the move on Brandon Cooks had it not been for the confidence we have in Josh Reynolds."
Oh, that got you going. You texted me after that. Yeah, it got
for sure. I think that just really solidifies. Well, one, I had just drafted Josh Reynolds late in our dynasty rookie free agent draft, so was pretty stoked to pick him back up after getting a parade of crap in that draft room. So that felt good. But I think, look, Josh Reynolds is honestly a guy that has prototypical like wide receivers skills. He's 6'3", 194. He's not the fastest, but he's got great agility. He had a 10.96 agility score. He's got a huge catch radius, so he can bail Jared Goff out in a lot of things, in a lot of ways. And I think if you look at the way he produced last year with Brandon Cooks kind of in and out of the lineup with injury, with the 12 personnel shifts. Johnny's mentioned before how it is concerning how the Rams have moved to 12 personnel towards the end of this of the season last year and actually took Cooper Kupp off the field for a lot of snaps. Well, who had to go in instead of him? It was Robert Woods and actually Josh Reynolds, who was in for a lot of those snaps. So his snap share was there and increasing at the sake of Cooper Kupp. So I think for me, Josh Reynolds is a nice, once again, being drafted super late in drafts, kind of being slept on, not being talked about. And he's a guy you can really stash as a guy that's got big upside week to week in this Rams offense if they're able to return to a little bit of form that Sean McVay had previously.
I do like Josh Reynolds as a late round flyer. I'm with you on that for this year, Travis. But I wanted to note this because I was looking this up as we were doing our research for the show. Player Profiler has his player comp to good old Devin Street. You remember this guy? He had a career high, one reception for 20 yards back in 2016. So I wanted to give Whisper Nation
sounds like my player profile.
Yeah, so I wanted to get a Whisper Nation a little bit deeper cut, maybe that they could maybe relate to, and his player profile relate metrics said Rod Streeter. You remember this guy, Rod Streeter? It does sound like a guy that either you picked up for a championship game, Travis, that you rode home, or Chelsea picked him up against me in a game. It might have been, but he had one game in 2016, week 16, 6 receptions on 7 targets for 63 yards and a touchdown. He was good for wide receiver, 16 on the week. And that is just your crazy fun fact down a rabbit hole about Josh Reynolds potentially being a league winner on week 16 somehow.
Yeah, I think this is what we're talking about. Like, if you can stash guys at the end of drafts, that's what you want to do. And we've talked about this before, right? When we do our mock drafts, we say maybe you want to punt the kicker and defense position at the end of your draft because you want to stash a guy like Josh Reynolds and wait through preseason and see if he's able to kind of bust through, or stash a guy like Breshad Perriman and see if he does establish, going back to Breshad Perriman just a little bit, nobody's on that depth chart. So, like, it's Breshad Perriman, Jamison Crowder, and a bunch of has-beens, like Josh Doxson's.
Well, they have Denzel Mims, but he's a rookie, and so it's going to take a while for him to get in.
Wide receivers, even if they are good,
they take a while generally. Right, yeah.
So I think that's the point here, is that you can look at the storylines that are going through in preseason, and that these storylines that we want to work out. And if you stash a guy at the end of your bench after a mock draft or after a real draft, instead of grabbing a kicker, which you could grab at any time, like you're really sitting there with some lottery tickets.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.